Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Sorry, I got disconnected, so I'm sharing this again. Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam. Welcome to Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are fortunate to have the association of Grace Sankarshan Nitai Prabhu from our congregation, and also he will be sharing the nectar from Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, chapter number 29, sloka number 8 to 10. Thank you, Prabhuji. Over to you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, do you want me to share the slokas or you will be sharing, Prabhuji? Prabhuji, I can't hear you, Prabhuji. I think you are muted.
Prabhu, am I audible now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, Prabhu, you can only share the screen, Prabhu. I was attending from mobile.
Okay, Prabhuji, no problem.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, Prabhuji.
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, we would like to welcome all the devotees for today's morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Let's start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraye Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, we are reading from Canto 4, chapter 29, verse number 8. Akshini Nasike Karnau Mukham Sishna Gudaviti Dve Dvaro Bahiryati Yastad Indriya Samyuta Akshini Nasike Karnau Mukham Shishna Gudaviti Dve Dvaro Bahiryati Yastad Indriya Samyuta Akshini Nasike Karnau Mukham Shishna Gudaviti Dve Dvaro Bahiryati Yastadindriya Samyutaha. Akshini, two eyes, Nasike, two nostrils, Karnav, two ears, Mukham, mouth, Krishna, genital, Gudav, and rectum. Iti, thus, Dve, two, Dvaro, gates, Bahihi, outside, Yati, goes, Yaha, one who, Tat, through the gates, Indriya, by the senses, Samyutaha, accompanied. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, E.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The eyes, nostrils, and ears are pairs of gates situated in one place. The mouth, genitals, and rectum are also different gates. Being placed into a body having these 9 gates, the living entity acts externally in the material world and enjoys sense objects like form and taste. Purport: not being aware of his spiritual position, the living entity directed by the mind goes out through the 9 gates to enjoy material objects. Because of long association with material objects, he forgets his real spiritual activities and is thus misled. The entire world is going on, being misled by so called leaders like scientists and philosophers who have no knowledge of the spirit soul. Thus, the conditioned soul becomes more and more entangled. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यं Hare Krishna. I would like to welcome all the devotees for today's morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. I would like to humbly seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas so that I can do the service properly for the purification of my heart and glorification of the Lord. So, so this chapter comes uh, after the Puranjana's pastime, that is the allegorical story by the Narada Muni is completed. So the great souls, they are always eager to awaken all the conditioned souls. So whoever is uh, entangled in the fruitive activities or the different ways of conditioned life. So similarly, Narada Muni is trying to enlighten Prachina Barhi through the story, allegorical story of King Puranjana. So from the chapter 25 to 28, about 25, 26, 4 chapters were being focused on the complete story. So in that story, we all have learned how the Puranjana is basically the conditioned soul. So he entered the city of nine gates. Basically, the city of nine gates is basically the human body. We have the nine dwaras are there. So so Puranjana was keep on enjoying the human body for all the sense gratificatory purposes. So, but at the end of the life, he was thinking about his wife. So, because he was thinking about woman, he became a woman in the next life. That is daughter of Vaidarbhi. So he became Vaidarbhi, and then she got married to one of the great devotees, Malayadhvaja. So she was very chaste and then serving her husband. And finally, when her husband died, she was lamenting like anything. That time, that just came in the previous chapter, almost at the end of the previous chapter. That time, there is one Brahmana uh, who was kind of known to the Puranjana. He came and then he was trying to ask some questions to Vaidarvi that why are you lamenting? Who are you? Whose daughter are you? Whose wife are you? So he was asking all the questions related very philosophically. That means in the Puranya pastime, if you know, there is one reference of unknown. You know, this unknown is a friend of the Puranjana, but for a long time he was kind of not paying attention to what that person was telling. So many times we heard in the class also, like the family or whatever the relationships in the world, they're all like sticks coming together in a revolution of water or something. Sometimes the sticks coming together, and then with the next wave, the sticks will go all over the place like that. So this is very important. So he was telling that Brahmana was telling to Vaidahi that I am your only friend. I am your we are friend eternally. Basically, I am your friend, but you keep on forgetting. Sometimes you consult, but sometimes you don't consult. That is what it is happening. So the same thing, Srila Prabhupada also very much emphasized that the first duty of a human being is basically to revive that connection. Whatever we have the connection with the Supreme Lord. Yes, we have a lot of duties are there, but the very first duty of a human being. That is why in the Vedanta Sutra, the first aphorism starts with Adhato Brahma Jignasa. Means therefore you have taken the human body, so it's very rare and uh, very suitable instrument to get out of the cycle of birth and death. So very important that we use the human body properly. That's what many times Srila Prabhupada tells. But people in this world are very, they're very lazy to understand. That is why Bhagavatam shloka tells about Kali Yuga people. Manda sumanda matayo, manda bhagyo. So I was hearing manda means lazy. People are very lazy. Lazy for the spiritual topics, not for the material topics. They are very active, but spiritual topics they are very lazy. And Sumandamate, okay, even if somebody wants to understand, but the brain substance is not there. Means basically, uh, recently I was reading one of the purport of Prabhupada about drinking milk, cows, the Vedic civilization, how the cow's milk is very very important to develop the tissues in the brain so that one can understand the spiritual topics, subtle topics very nice. So that's what Prabhupada was telling. So although people sometimes want to understand because there is no proper brain substance, they may not be able to catch up the things properly of the spiritual topics. Manda sumanda matayo, manda bhagyo. Okay, so even if they have substance, the problem is there are so many false gurus, cheating gurus, that they tell different things, not to the exact point. Basically, the ultimate goal of life, they don't stress. They stress about all the small secondary things. So many may get caught up with that kind of gurus and then lost in that way. And above all, it's a Upadhruta. So people in this Kali Yuga are always disturbed. So, so that is why it is very important. The human form of life is to be utilized carefully. So that is what we heard. So and then so that Brahmana was telling, we both are very closest friends, and right now we are very far from the original home. What is the original home of a jiva? Original home of a jiva is the spiritual world, because the spiritual entity is also is of nature of Satchit Ananda. So the same quality as the Lord. So the original home of a jiva is the spiritual world. But when a jiva wants to enjoy separately or independently from Krishna, the jiva falls down, and then he has to accept the material body. Just like if somebody is going to a space or something, they have to take up the particular suit, right? In order for the it is called acclimatization. So accustomed, they want to accustom to that particular environment, so they have to get up one suit. So similarly, when a jiva comes to the material world, he takes the material body. Okay, so that material body is consists of so many different elements. That's what we heard. Bhumi rapo analo vayu kham mano buddhi revacha ahankara iti yate. So earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Just like a person, he wears a banyan and then he wears a shirt. So the shirt is like gross body, which is made up of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And the subtle body is like mind, intelligence, and false ego. So many times people think that there is no soul, there is nothing, because they think that they cannot be able to see the soul. So they will just challenge that the soul is present. Prabhupada was very gives an amazing example. Just like I am sitting in a room and the light is coming. I have not seen the sun, but the light is coming. So I am very much sure that there will be a sun outside just because the light and it is passing by. So similarly, when the body is actually moving, expressing the feelings, willing, then it is all actually the symptoms of the consciousness. So, although you may not be able to see it, still, because of the soul's presence, only that body moves. Otherwise, this body will still be dead. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, also Krishna tells, right? Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani krishnati naropana. Just like when the cloth becomes old, one gives up the cloth and takes a new cloth. Like that, the soul also takes a new body along with the subtle body. Subtle body also will be carried away. So, so this person is telling that Brahmana, we are actually very, very close friends. Instead of me, you are trying to search for everywhere. Now, there is one example in the forest. You might have heard one peculiar animal called Kasturi Mruga. That Kasturi Mruga is basically a deer which has a very unique gland in its body, in her body, that from that gland the nice fragrance is coming up. The gland releases all the fragrance. So the Kasturi Mruga feels so very amazed by that fragrance. So it wanted to understand from where this fragrance is coming from. So it goes to all the places in the forest and all. It tries to understand from where the fragrance is coming. Finally, without knowing the fact, it dies someday. So similarly, like we are all searching for happiness in this world everywhere. If not this one, that one, not that one, this another one, like that, we're all searching for happiness. But the source of all happiness is sitting right in front of the heart, right in the heart. That is Krishna only. Krishna is there in the heart of everyone. Ishvara Sarva Bhuteshu Pradesh Arjuna Tishtati. Krishna is telling that Krishna is there in the heart of everyone. So if somebody turns towards Krishna, then what happens? Krishna is ready to give all the happiness because he is called Ananda Chinmaya Sadutvala Vigrahasya. He is the embodiment of all the happiness. So Krishna is ready to give all the happiness, but the jiva doesn't want. The jiva always wants to search here and there and then try to enjoy separately from the Lord. But if jiva turns, Lord is very much there. So so that is what the Brahmana was asking, that why the people. And then the story ends, the chapter ends. And immediately in the next chapter, that is the current chapter, uh, Prachina Barhi was asking that, my dear Lord Narada Muni, some things I could not understand properly because I am very much salved with the fruity mentality. So that is why I'm not able to understand clearly. Can you please be a little more elaborate? So he was very humble enough to understand that, humble enough to reveal that I am not able to understand. Please tell. So I was hearing class by Radha Gopinath Prabhu. So he was telling that although the Prachina Barhi was Prachina Barhi was hearing the same message many, many times, still he could not able to understand because it is the nature of the fruity mentality. Fruity mentality means what? What is there in it for me? So if I do this, what is there? If I perform this, what am I going to get? All these things. So similarly, uh, if someone reads the Vedic scriptures also, he will have that same mentality. Okay, by reading this, what I'm going to get? By reading that, what I'm going, by hearing this, what I'm going to get. So similar, the same fruity mentality continues. With that mentality, one will not be able to understand clearly what is the real goal of Vedas. Because Vedas deal about so many topics, 90 plus percent, 99% of the Vedas is about all these karma kanda activities. So it is very easy that one may get lost in the Vedas and not be able to understand the goal of Vedas. But what is the goal of Vedas? We all know. Vedescha sarvair ahameva vedya. Vedanta krit veda videvacha. So by all the Vedas, Krishna is to be known. One time Prabhupada was, I think there were two scholars who were there. So Prabhupada was asking, who is God? Can you tell who is God? Then they were telling, oh, Swamiji, this is very difficult question. It is so many things are there to discuss. It's very, very complex question that you have asked. Like that, they were telling. So Prabhupada has called one small girl, Saraswati, I think. So he called and then he asked that girl, who is the God? And she was telling Krishna is the God. So it's very not very easy. So it's very what I'm trying to say is it's very easy to get lost in the Vedas. Just like Prabhuji was telling one example. In Russia, one scientist, he has actually made one experiment on one rat. So he kept that rat in one cage, and in the case there are two terminals. If it touches the first terminal, it is going to get some sugar out of it. And if it touches the second terminal, it's going to get some shock. The mild shock, it's going to get electric shock. So the rat was trying to understand, and then he was keep on pressing that sugar one. Now he turned away towards. I mean, he turned opposite. Means the earlier the first one is giving sugar. Now it is going to give the shock. So he was keep on changing the terminals. So the rat, the whole time, the rat was keep on thinking which one is sugar, which one is shock. So it always wants to avoid the shock and wants to get the sugar. So at one point of time, the scientist he opened that door from the back, that cage, so that the rat will go, out of that cage. But surprisingly, the rat is not going only. It was so much occupied with understanding which one is a sugar one, which one is a shock one. So it was not going outside only. So he was telling that similarly, the jiva who is infected with the fruitive mentality, he was always thinking that what will give me pleasure, what will give me problem. So he was keep on doing the same thing. What is that? Atyanta sukha pravrutti, atyanta dukha nivrutti means the jiva always the uh, wants to get happiness, wants to avoid the misery. So, uh, so he was telling that although the cage is open, the rat can go outside and have a, peaceful life, but it did not pay attention. So, similarly, the Vedas have a door open. It has all the ingredients to understand that who is the supreme Lord and everything, but still the jiva gets caught up in this fruity mentality, and jiva doesn't want to get out. For that time we need the help of a uh, higher higher intelligence which is coming from the great sages. So so that's why here one of the word is also used, that unknown. Unknown is a word. So why the Lord is called unknown? The Lord is called unknown because Prabhupada was giving that purport that Lord cannot be perceived by the mundane senses. Like all of the senses are there, it's very difficult to understand with the senses directly the Lord, because Lord is spiritual, the senses are mundane. That is why it is called adhokshaja. Adhokshaja means one can be perceived, one cannot be perceived with this mundane senses. So it is told one of the shlokas that we all know, famous shloka. Ata Sri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyamindriye sevon mukhe jihvado swayameva spuratyada. Means Ata Sri Krishna Namadi, the holy name of Krishna and all the other follows, that is Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila, they all is Atha Sri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriye. These mundane senses cannot understand all these things. Why? Because they are mundane and that is spiritual. So then how to understand that? The next part of the shloka tells, Sevon mukhe jihvado swayameva spuratyana. When somebody starts the seva to the Lord by the jihva means the tongue. So what is the seva that can be done by the tongue? That is either the chanting the glories of the Lord, chanting the holy names of the Lord, or to eat Krishna Prasadam. So when somebody does this service, then Swayameva Spratyada, eventually, gradually, everything will be revealed. So it is said, Kali Kale Namarupe Krishna Avatar. So there is, so Krishna is so very merciful in the form of the holy name that he has removed all the rules and regulations. Because if you take the other forms of worship, like deity worship and all, there are a lot of rules and regulations. But the chanting the holy names is very, very sweet and very, very easy to perform also, because there is no rules and regulations, right? But still, it is said in the Sikshastakam that I'm not able to get the taste, although there is no rules and regulations and all the potencies of Lord is present in the holy name, still I am not able to grasp that. So that is one misfortune. So that is why we need to pray. So again, there is one here one question also somebody was asking, like if okay, you are telling that there is no rules and regulations, then why, like as soon as like somebody comes in bhakti, you tell so many do's and don'ts and everything, but you are telling there are no rules and regulations. So I was hearing from one of the other lectures where the devotee was telling that the correct that was a correct question, right? So you tell that there is no rules and regulations, but when one starts actually, he finds that there are so many rules and regulations. We have got 10 offenses are there. We have got 4 regulative principles are there. We have got all the do's, don'ts, everything were there. Why all these rules and regulations? Why were there? So somebody was telling that okay, if you take the running as an activity, so if you just want to run on a street, there is no rules and regulations. You can just run. But if you want to run in the Olympics, correct. If you want to do the running in the Olympics, then there are so many rules and regulations. Why? Because there is so much of pressure at that time is there, and there is so much of practice that needs to be done. Just although it's a running, same running only, but there are so many rules and regulations that the players have to undergo in order to perform that running in the Olympics. Correct. So similarly, to chant the holy names, there is no rules and regulations. But if you want to chant the holy name in such a way that you get out of this material world, that is at the time of death, if you really want to chant and remember, that requires so much of practice, so much of endurance and everything. That is why there are so many rules and regulations. And so the devotee was telling that yes, there are no rules, you can chant anywhere. And also, although we heard one story right in Chaitanya Charitamrita, if you all have heard Gopal Guru, there is one person in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that is described that he was so addicted to chanting of the holy names that his tongue is keep on chanting the holy names. No matter what, it keeps on chanting. So one time he wanted to go to bathroom. So he thinks that okay, Lord is not different from his holy name. So when I'm chanting the Lord is presence, how can I take the Lord to the bathroom? That's what he was telling. He was thinking that. So he was in the bathroom and he was trying to hold the tongue very tightly because he doesn't want to chant in the bathroom so that he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to bring the Lord to the that place. So that time he was struggling to hold his tongue, but the tongue was keep on chanting again. No, some some dilemma was there. That time, by seeing that there is one small boy, his name is Gopal. So he was telling, he actually saw that, and then he came to that person and telling that, why were you doing like that? You know, what if we leave the world in the bathroom? So he was telling that, don't you know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was told that there is no rules and regulations. We can chant anywhere the Lord's holy names. So what if somebody leaves, during the time of, that bathroom? So he was leaving that. So then he convinced, and then he was convinced, and he was again chanting very loudly the holy names of Lord. By seeing all this from the distance, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was very, very happy with this boy. That is why he gave the name of this boy as Gopal Guru. Although his name is Gopal, he was Gopal Guru, one of the greatest acharyas in our life. So there are no rules and regulations, but if somebody wants to really, you know, achieve the target, then there are obviously rules and regulations. Just like if somebody goes to doctor, he gives a medicine and he gives a patya. Medicine means what to do. Patya means what not to take. What to do, what not to do, like that. So, here the pastime of Puranjana again, it's coming that. Uh, so now it come when we come to this shloka. Here, again, Narada Muni was trying to tell, he was trying to decode basically the pastime into what all one thing is like about. The city of nine gates is about a human body. The human body is very rare. That's what Roji was telling, that after passing through 84 lakh species of life, one gets a human body. Why? Because it is the most advanced body, so that one can easily attain the ultimate goal of life. We all know that shloka, very famous shloka. Ahara nidra bhayamaitunamcha samanyametu pashuvinara. So if human body is doing the same thing as the animals, then it is of no use. Basically, it is equal to animal's body. So here, yeah, here Nardamani was telling the eyes, nostrils, and ears are the panes of gates situated in one place. The mouth, genitals, and rectum are also different gates. Being placed into a body having these nine gates, the living entity acts externally in the material world and enjoys in subjects like form and taste. So this is the problem. Uh, one quotation I've seen recently by Bhakti Rasamaswamy Maharaj, that many times we think that we are the human beings having a spiritual experience, but it is the opposite. He's telling that we are the spiritual beings with a human experience. Actually, we are not belong. We don't belong here. We belong to the spiritual world, but due to the false tendency, we came here and then having the human experience. So there is a lot of differences there. So here, the same point Prabhupada is also telling that not being aware of the spiritual position, the living entity directed by the mind goes out through the nine gates to enjoy the material objects. So many times Prabhupada, asks this question whenever he goes to that university. Tell them, okay, you are MIT. Where is the department for Almighty? So we have got so many big universities are there, and each department has so many specializations. But the best among all is the soul in the body. Without the soul, there is no life. But for the soul, there is no department. So Prabhupada used to condemn this. He's telling that where is the department for the soul or for the Almighty? Like that, he used to say. Then, because of long association with material objects, he forgets his real spiritual activity. And this does mislead. Just like, the raindrop of water, we heard that example. The raindrop of water is very pure, but when it comes down, when it's associated with the mud or whatever it is, it gets that particular type of nature. Similarly, the jiva, when it comes down, due to the long association with material nature, then the material that keeps on growing, and then he keeps on forgetting his real spiritual identity. The entire book is going by being so called misled by the leaders like scientists and philosophers. So this is also one of the things. Many times there is a lot of atheistic propaganda is happening. That although the scientist may be very well educated or very qualified, but he doesn't know the basics of the spiritual life. That is, we are not the body, we are the spirit soul. That it's a very, that is what, right? We were telling about Sumanna Mateo. There is a proper brain substance is required. Although it is very easy to understand that we are not the body, we are the spirit soul. At least theoretically, practically speaking, that is the best. At least theoretically speaking, it is very easy to understand that we have given the examples of the sun and many times many things. And even there is a specific field called reincarnation studies, wherein they have studied about 3,000 factual stories of the people who have reincarnated. In the sense, they know, they can remember their past life memories. There is a book actually. I think one person, Ian Stevenson or something, somebody was there. He actually wrote the factual stories of reincarnation. So although they're seeing many things, people are they simply question that who knows that there is a next life, who knows that there is a soul and all these things. But it's very easy to understand. They may call luck. Luck is one such common word they use. But what is this luck is all about? Just like one person who say, just like say somebody who he is born in one of the common ordinary homes, and then he does so much of hard work in his entire life, and then probably at the end, at the age of 70 or 80, he could have accumulated some good amount of money, say some 3 crores or 4 crores or 5 crores or whatever. But whereas the other person, who was like one of the, he's like in a born in one of the great families, like queen's family or something. As soon as that person is born, he was having all the facilities and so much of everything is there. Why does the difference? What is the difference? People may call it's a luck, but it's not luck. It is actually his own karma only. Correct na? So what, when the karma comes, that means there is a previous life, there is a next life, right? So in the Brahma Samhita also it is told that Yastvindra Gopa Mathavendra Mahosva Karma Bandhanu Rupa Falabhajana Matabhuti Karmani Nirdahati Kincha Bhakti Bhajan Govindamadi Tamaham Bhaja means there is a there is an insect called Indra Gopa and there is Indra. So it is told that right from the Indra to the Indra Gopa, everybody has to go through their own karmic reactions. Yastvindra Gopa Mathavendra Aho Swakarma. Swakarma means my own reactions. So it is all very clear that there is a past life, there is a future life, there is a soul and all this. But people are still not able to understand because of the Kali Yuga influence. Like one scientist was there, he was so uh, what you can say, he was so uh, very ignorant or something I can say. He was telling that he has studied entire parts of the body carefully, and then he came up with this conclusion that the whole body is made up of all these chemicals, sodium, potassium, calcium, all these things he came up with. And then he was telling that the so all these chemicals, if they are just simply some around 1 200 300 rupees, nothing more than that. So he was telling that it is just the body is nothing, that just a matter of 300 400 rupees, that's it, like that. So, and he's a very famous professor, correct na? So what kind of professor is this? Here Prabhupada is telling, like there are so many scientists and philosophers, so called, they mislead the people like anything, by all these false propaganda and stuff, something like that. So here again, who have no knowledge, spirit soul, so thus the conditioned soul becomes more and more entangled. So this is the problem. The conditioned soul, when it thinks that the senses are meant for the sense enjoyment. Yeah, senses are meant for the sense enjoyment, but for Krishna's sense enjoyment. That is why it is said Hrishikena Hrishikesa Sevanam Bhakti. The bhakti is basically to engage the senses in the service of the Lord. That is actually the bhakti. But when the senses are engaged wrongly, then it becomes the the sense gratification, the program of sense gratification. So here, um, yeah, so here in the purport, Prabhupada was very much telling, because the living entity is always constantly associated with the material nature, material activities, he was bound. But the same living entity, when he starts associating with the spiritual activities, like chanting of the holy names, hearing Lord's glories, taking the darshan of the Lord, like we have all the activities for the senses by Ambarish Maharaj. Savai Manakrishna Padara Vindayo, Vachamsi, Vaikuntha Gunanuvarnane. Karav Harer Mandira Marjana. The hands can be used for the cleansing of the temple. Karav Harer Mandira Marjanadishu. Shrutim Chakara Chuta Satkadhodai. The ears can be used for the hearing of the glories of the Lord. So, like that, Padav Hare Kshetra Padam Sarpan. The legs can be used to go to the temple, go to the holy places. The nose can be used to take the fragrance, that is fragrance of Tulsi offered to Lord. Like that, all the senses, if it is used in Krishna's service, then the living entity can go back to the spiritual world. No, he can get the contact of the Supreme Lord. Yeah, we'll go to the next sloka. That is the ninth shloka. Prabhu, can you share? Yeah. Dakshini Nasike Asyam Iti Panchapura Krita Dakshina Karna Uttara Chottara Smita Paschime Iti Adhodvara Gudam Shishnam Ihochyate. Translation: two eyes, two nostrils, and a mouth, altogether five, are situated in the front. The right ear is accepted as the southern gate, and the left ear is the northern gate. The two holes or gates situated in the west are known as the rectum and genital organ. Purport. Of all the sides, the eastern side is considered most important, primarily because the sun rises from that direction. The gates on the eastern side, the eyes, nose, and mouth, are thus very important gates in the body. So here Prabhupada is telling of all the senses, basically when you say city, it has all the four gates, right? So similarly, the body is also city, city of nine gates. So we have west gate, north gate, south gate, and east gate. And the east gate is basically eyes, nose, and mouth, which is very, very important because the life airs are actually passing, through the nostrils only the breathing process happens. And Prabhupada is telling, and also the sun rises in the east, just like the whole, the source of all life in the, in this world is basically the sun. When the sun comes, the light and heat comes, then all the vegetation, everything comes. So that is basically the source of life of the planet. So similarly, the source of life is there in the eastern gate, that is eyes, nose, and mouth, basically. So yeah, so we'll go to the next sloka. Prabhu, can you share, Prabhuji? Yeah. खद्योताविर्मुखी चात्र नेत्रे एकत्र निर्मिते रूपं विभ्राजितं ताभ्यां विचष्टे चक्षुषे चक्षुषेश्वरः. The two gates named Khadyota and Avirmukhi, which have been spoken of, are the two eyes side by side in one place. The town named Vibhrajita should be understood as form. In this way, the two eyes are always engaged in seeing different kinds of forms. Purpose. The two eyes are attracted by brilliant things like light. Sometimes we find that the little insects are attracted by the brightness of fire and thus enter into it. Similarly, the two eyes of the living entity are attracted by bright and beautiful forms. They are entangled in these forms exactly as the insect becomes attached to attracted to fire. So here the specific description about the eyes were given. So eyes are very, of course, the eyes always wants to see the beauty, but when it is seeing the wrong beauty, then that is where it gets entangled. But the same eyes, if it is used to see the beauty of the Lord, then that is very much liberating. Correct. So, but otherwise, the eyes basically which are searching for all the beautiful forms which are not connected with the Lord, then what happens is it is simply like the entanglement. Just like there is one insect, it's called moth. The moth, the specialty of this moth is it actually gets very much attracted when it sees the light, basically the fire. The fire, it emits the light, right? When it sees that fire, it gets so much of attracted with that red color and all. It wants to jump right into the fire. It always it wants to go into the fire and then get burnt. So that is the nature of the moth, that the insect. So similarly, those eyes which are always looking for the beautiful forms which are not connected with the Lord, in a not in a proper spirit, then those eyes basically are very much entangled. It is not just the eyes, all the other senses also. Like if you take, there are different animals which have the weaknesses, just like the moth is having the weakness of the eyes. So similarly, the fish is having the weakness of the tongue. That is why, you see, when the bait was fish bait, they put that small thing. The fish has so many things to eat in the water, but it doesn't go. It directly comes to the bait and then it's got caught. Why? Because the weakness of the fish is the tongue. So similarly, the deer, what is the weakness of the deer? The ear. See, sometimes the deers can run faster than the tigers. That is there in the forest. The nature is that the deers can run faster, but the deers, when it hears a very nice sound, musical sound, from the hunter, the flute, then it actually comes, then the hunter catches the deer. Why? Because it has a weakness of the ear. So similarly, the elephant was so big and so huge. So how, what do you think that the people can capture? How do you how the people can capture the elephant? The elephant was so big, right? They have this. They know the weakness of elephant. What is the weakness of elephant? That is the skin touch. It always wants to touch the opposite sex, opposite elephant. So what they do, they will in a forest, they put that pit, they dug the pit and then put the leaves on it, and then other side of the pit they put the opposite sex the elephant, that is the female elephant. So when the male elephant sees the female elephant that side, it runs and then it falls into that pit, and then that's how they catch the elephant. Why? Because of this one weakness of skin. So that is a elephant, that is a skin. So we have eyes, ears, nose. For the nose, the animal is given is a bees. Sometimes the bees, they were so much attracted by the fragrance of the uh, flower, that they go inside the flowers, and then you see sometimes in the night the flowers are actually closed, and when they are closed, the bees, without they are kind of suffocated within that flower, and then they die. Why? Because of that one weakness of the nose. So these are, these are mentioned in the scripture, that all these animals are, teaching something. Just like here, Prabhupada was mentioning about the moth. And the moth, it always wants to enter into the fire. Similarly, the impure senses, they always want to do the wrong things and then get entangled again and again and again, more and more and more. Then what is the solution? The solution is again the same solution. The solution is to engage the senses in the service of the Lord. It is not easy to negate the sense, because the senses want the food. No, basically the senses want to enjoy. That is the real nature of athato anandamayo. The jiva is always wants to enjoy. There is no denying of the fact. But the proper way of enjoying is when it is employed in the service of the Lord. And the Lord is called Govinda. Govinda means one who gives pleasure to the cows and the senses of everyone. So that is the best way. If the senses, the perfection of the senses is basically when the sense is engaged in the service of the Lord. Just like we all know the story of that person in Dhanurdas. Dhanurdas in the Ramanuja's pastime, right? He was so attracted by the beauty of this woman, and when he was challenged, he challenged that if you can show me the more beautiful than this eyes of this woman, then I can surrender my life. But when so then Ramanujacharya took him to the temple in the evening time when the Harti was happening. When he saw the darshan, the beauty of the Lord, then the eyes, he was stunned, and then he became the disciple of Ramanujacharya. So this is basically the perfection of eyes. The eyes can see the beauty of the Lord and then get encaptured. And similarly, we have the perfection of the nose. When Chetish Kumaras, when they were entering into Vaikuntha, they've actually smelled the tulsi leaves, that is at the lotus feet of the Lord, and then they were transformed. So that is a perfection of nose. And then we have the ears and tongue. Basically, yeah, in that one nice shloka we all know from Rupa Goswami, he was telling about what, what great joy a person feels when one chants the holy name of the Lord or hears it. So that shloka is, I think, if you want to remember, I have this shloka. Let me just open that. Yeah, that is told that Tunde Tandavini Ratim Vitanute Tundavali Lapyate Karna Krodha Kadambini Ghatayate भुजे कर्णाबुदेभ्यः स्पृहां चेतः प्राङ्गण संगिनी विजयते सर्वेन्द्रियाणां कृतिं नो जाने जनिता कियाद्भिर अमृतै कृष्णेति वर्णद्वै. So translation is, I do not know how much nectar the two syllables Krishna have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. We then desire many, many mouths. When that name enters the holes of the ears, we desire many, many millions of ears. And when the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind, and therefore all the senses become inert. So this is the perfection of the tongue or the ears. That who is Rupa Goswami is telling he wants millions of tongues and millions of ears to chant the glories of the Lord and the holy names of the Lord. So this is actually the perfection of the senses, like that. So the yes, the senses, we cannot blame the senses because the senses are designed in such a way that they want the enjoyment. But if it can be employed properly in the service of the Lord, then it is they can get a perfect pleasure. The Govinda, Lord is called Govinda. He can give the unlimited pleasure to the senses. What happens is the mundane senses, they become slowly transcendental, gradually transcendental when it is employed. That just like a shock. Like if somebody puts the hand finger in the socket, he gets the shock, right? So similarly, when the senses are in touch with the Lord, then eventually the Lord's qualities of transcendentality goes to the senses, and then eventually uh, that will be realized. So that is how the senses can be liberating. It is not just entangling, it can be liberating. The senses and the mind can be liberating as well. Yeah. So Prabhu, I think 8:50, Prabhu. I'm done here, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat
Hare
Pranam Prabhu.
Prabhu Dandavad Pranam.
Thank you very much for wonderful class. You actually described the real purpose of senses. You started with the glory of Narada Maharishi is always eager to awaken the bhakti within the conditioned souls. And then you explained the unknown friend, very detailedly elaborated who is unknown friend and how the conditioned souls really forgot the Paramatma who is eternally as the friend accompanying all the time throughout the vicious cycle of birth and death. How we forgot because the people in general are manda sumanda matayo manda bhagyo. Even if they have little bit of taste, but they are misguided by the false and fake gurus. So it
Yeah,
was very nice. Yes, Prabhuji.
recently, one somebody was putting in some WhatsApp or something, Prabhu. Recently, one famous person, he was very well-known philosopher. So one student was asking him, I heard that we all were created by God, but the science says that we are come from the evolution, the Darwin's theory, all these monkeys and everything. What do you say? They were asking one famous spiritual leader. You know, I don't want to name, but he was telling that uh, he was basically telling that if you want to go forward, you follow Darwin. If you want to go backward, you follow God. Like that, they were telling. So I was so. This is what Prabhupada was right. He was telling there are so many people who are misleading the people like anything. So that is the one thing. Yeah, correct.
It's very
So
unfortunate, Prabhu. It's very
it's
unfortunate,
very unfortunate. He is such a one of the great leaders, spiritual leaders in India. No, so-called spiritual leaders.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's true, Prabhuji. I also heard another, a leader saying, I never read Bhagavad Gita, to be very
Ah,
frank.
see,
But
that's
he
what.
keeps saying, giving all philosophical topics.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very unfortunate. Yeah. So you nicely also described about the nature of the conditioned souls, how the various senses, uh, the human in the human form of life, where we have all the five senses, which are the weakness, and if you are not engaging them properly, how it get conditioned, and like you also beautifully described the a study of the rat in the lab when it is constantly exposed to sugar and shock, and even when the cage was open, it doesn't realize. So similarly, people who are studying the Vedas, if they are only focusing on the fruitive aspects, they can never realize what is the original real purpose of Vedas and how it can actually help them to liberate from the clutches of birth and death. So very beautiful live examples. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. So devotees may please unmute their lines and share their comments or questions as you may have. Gaur Chandra Gopinath Prabhu commented that thank you very much for the wonderful class.
Yes. Please pray for me. Pray for me.
Prabhuji, I have one question, Prabhu. So we say that if you have little faith, that the spiritual life begins with little faith, right?
Yeah.
Little bit of faith. But what actually connects that person with a little faith to fake guru versus authentic sampradaya? Because it's very painful to
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
people just driven by emotion, and they get attracted, and they don't go beyond that emotion. So how to understand that, Prabhuji?
Yeah. Yeah. Prabhu, I think that's what Prabhu. As far as I understand, the Sukriti, Prabhu. So it is not that if somebody is coming to the proper bhakti path, they have come all at once only. They would have accumulated a lot of Sukriti in the previous lives, and then they could get a proper guru. That is why it is told Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gnanavanam Prakriti, right? After so many lifetimes of accumulating the Sukriti only, one can come to the proper path of bhakti. Otherwise, it is very easy. That's what Prabhu. So if you have a little Sukriti and all, then it may not be very easy to come to the proper bhakti. So that's what I felt, Prabhu. So faith is there. So maybe externally it may appear that they have got a little faith in this life, but what happens is the lot of pious credits from the previous life also matters, and then the intervention of the devotees. The devotees, when they are intervened, they can actually change the path of the karma, and then they can give something big, something very the, complete knowledge they can do. That's what I felt from. Others can also say, "Prabhu, I want to hear." Yeah.
It's very true, Prabhu. Actually, I just take one small class for a hostel.
Ah,
There are 60 girls are there in the hostel.
yeah.
Every Thursday, I go to 6 and 7. Of the 60, about 25, maximum 30 girls come.
Okay.
And they chant. I make them chant one round, and then all Mangalacharan and all they do well. And they listen to me, they answer and all that. But to ask them to chant, I've last 1 year I've completed it. I
Yeah,
put
yeah,
only 2 girls chanting one
yeah,
round.
yeah, yeah.
But I'm not losing the interest. I'm telling them, let's continue. But they
Correct.
come, we all have some quiz sometimes. They take all interest.
Right, right, yeah.
Not able to make them to do regular chanting and all that. Prabhu.
The, that credits should be there, Mataji. Sukriti should be definitely there. And then the more one engages in the bhakti, then the more credits one may get and then continue. So it is not that everybody is on the same level, right? So they may appear same, but it is not. The previous credits, previous karma, everything is different for different person. So that is why if also Prabhupada tells, if you want a famous, right? If you want a cheating guru, you will get a cheating guru. What is the meaning of that? So if they want something else from the spirituality, and basically they want to follow spirituality for what? My health will become good. My I'll be very well, get a lot of money and things like that. If that is the motive, then they will be forward to that kind of gurus. So that is how it is. Yeah, the motive also matters. Right?
Yeah, that is really true, Prabhuji. There is a hidden agenda,
Yeah,
even
hidden
when they
agenda.
take the spirituality, and Lord
Correct.
reciprocates according to their agenda. If
Correct.
they don't have any, but I think the big difference in taking up with pure sampradaya is that even if you have a hidden agenda, you know through the
Correct.
spiritual master or devotees association, they
They
get
can
washed
change it.
away. All of them get washed away.
Right. That is the beauty, Prabhu, really. Because one lecturer, Alshabra, was also telling that one boy was there. He was attracted to the devotees because they were very much, teaching them English. So they were very much speaking English. He was very attracted, and he joined, and then eventually he became a very nice devotee. And he was sharing his motive. My motive to join here is to learn English and become more fluent. But now he understood, and then he was continuing like this. So whatever the maybe the motivations that we come into the path, but once we come in, there is only one motive. That is basically to engage in Lord's service. to engage all the senses in Lord service and the service of the Vaishnavas. Yeah.
Yeah, true, Prabhu. And I think other beauty I found is that Prabhupada's purport is quite uncompromising, Prabhu.
Yeah.
We don't see that in any other, even among Vaishnava Sampradayas, we don't see such uncompromised approach. So that is the real beauty, Prabhu. Real beauty.
Amazing. Yeah, correct. So, yes,
Thank
Prabhu.
you, devotees. Thank you, Prabhuji. Devotees, are there any other questions or comments? I think Murali Murari Prabhu wants to say something. He has unmuted the mic. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji,
Yes,
please.
Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Correct.
Hare Krishna, Murali Murari Prabhu. We are not able to hear you, Prabhuji. I think we can't hear him. Okay,
Yeah.
Prabhuji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu. With a lot of examples, we can connect ourselves. We can realize with those examples quickly. So thank you so much, Prabhu. It was a
Hare
wonderful.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhu, please pray, Prabhu. I may realize.
Yes,
I'm just
Prabhu.
teaching theoretically, but please pray that I will engage my senses nicely in service of the Lord. Yeah,
Thank you for the class, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Prabhuji, I think there are no questions. We may end the class with Vaishnava Pranam. One quick announcement, Prabhuji, before we start the prayer. Tomorrow, we will have a special class given by His Grace Premasinda Gauranga Prabhu from Govardhan. I think he's part of the Govardhan, the Brindavan, I think Brindavan higher study for Vedic learning. I forgot the exact name. So Prabhuji has given classes often to our congregation. So tomorrow he will be giving class from 8 to 9. So I request all the devotees to attend the class and also share the message with other devotees as well. Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thanks, Prabhu.
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय।
My God, Prabhupada ki Hari Hari.
Hare Krishna, devotees, I'll end the Zoom session now.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.